What's going on, people? How's everybody doing on this? What day is it? Wednesday? Good to see everybody. We're going to talk about Pulse today, what little I know. And we're going to talk about just the awesome game theory behind it because, man, it's making my head spin. And there's a lot of ways you could play this, but what's the right way? What's the wrong way? I have no idea. Time will tell. And I'm sure hindsight's going to be 2020, right? You know, we're going to look back and say, oh, I wish I would have done that for Pulse. Wish I would have done this. But what can we do now to prepare? You know, what can we do? There's a lot of options. And, you know, this is kind of like the announcement to the announcement, right? I mean, there's going to be Richard Hart's going to be releasing some information, some more official information on Friday. So if you can wait till then, great. But if you want to hear my, half-baked ideas, feel free to tune in. It's good to have everybody here. I see Super Hex. Let's pulse it up. Spike, good to see you. Finbear, how you doing? Wade Emery, good to see you. Crypto Kobe, hello. Market Valley, Joe Exotic, what's going on? Simon, Sandy, hello, Sandy. Simon Hexagon, Franklin, man, we got the OG squad unhexable. What is going on? And Escatar, good to see you, Escatar, over on Twitch. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. And yeah, this will be a little teaser, a little announcement before the announcement. And disclaimer right now, guys, disclaimer. If I say anything right now that ends up not being true, there's a good chance that what we talk about today might just not be true. Nothing is set in stone yet with the whole PulseChain thing, but there's some things I think we're reasonably confident about. And so this is more of, ask me anything. If you have questions, I'll try to answer them the best I can. And I'll try to, answer. I'll talk about some different scenarios I'm running in my head about, like, how you could play this thing, and what the advantages could be. But I want to hear all your thoughts too. And if you have any questions about Hex, PulseChain, anything, now's the time to ask. I know, again, Richard is going to be releasing all the real information on Friday, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. And Bitfinesse will take the full-on baked ideas too. Let them fly, sir. Yeah, man. I'll give you everything I've been thinking about. And Joe Exotic says DCA into Hex, leave it liquid, sacrifice that Hex for Pulse on day one. It's a win-win. May require gas fee to change to ETH. That is the straightforward option. What Joe Exotic is saying right here is the straightforward, no messing around. Just, if you're a hexagon, and this is probably what a lot of hexagons are going to do. But, let's also think about doing what people aren't doing. If you want to be super woke, maybe you zig when everyone zags, you go the opposite way, or you find a unique way that no one's ever heard of or seen. For those that don't know what PulseChain is, it's a cheaper, faster, fee-burning Ethereum fork that Richard Hart will be creating. Why did he create it? He created it to essentially solve the problem that Hex was having, that the entire Ethereum ecosystem is having, with insanely high gas fees that make it borderline unusable. On Ethereum, it's kind of becoming a whale party over there. And whale parties are fun, but I want to hang out with some fish too. I mean, how do we onboard people? Somebody trying to put in $100 shouldn't have to pay $50 to do a swap and $30 to do a transaction, a stake, right? So if you want to do anything on layer 1 at all, the gas fees are insanely high. Layer 2, from what I've seen, it's buggy, costs more. If you want to do anything on layer 1, you need to switch back and forth and bridge, and the bridge costs money. And so the layer 2 is just adding a layer of complexity, which doesn't help onboarding either. So, I think the basic premise or the hypothesis is that layer 1 should be where everything's happening. There's the most infrastructure around it right now. In the future, ETH 2.0 will be out and more layer 2 solutions will be integrated. Maybe you'll be able to onboard directly to layer 2, but right now, that's just not true. So I'm looking at Pulse as more of I don't want to say a band-aid solution, because it can become the solution, for a long, long time. But if ETH 2.0 is going to take another 2 years to 3 years to figure out, I mean, people are estimating 2024. I've seen estimates of it's not going to be ready till 2024, which is 2.5 years. So in the meantime, why don't we just fix the problem? And if everybody wants to come over to PulseChain, it's agnostic, right? It's hex agnostic. So I know I'm a hexagon, I love my hex, it's my favorite coin. But if you're new here and you're watching, PulseChain affects you too, because it's essentially the largest airdrop that I've ever witnessed in all of history. Because what's happening on Pulse is it's a fork of Ethereum. So literally just a fork, kind of like Ethereum Classic and Ethereum. Except at the time of Ethereum Classic, there was not a whole lot of valuable projects built on ETH at that time. It was like 2016, I think. And it was after the DAO hack and everything. So essentially for anybody that's holding any crypto at all, you're about to receive, just because of the fork, you'll have an equal amount of your ERC20 tokens on Hex as you do on the Pulse chain, assuming you just hold them and you just don't touch them and don't do anything with them. Now, will these ERC20s have any value on the Pulse chain is the question. And the question is really answered by, well, does the community value cheap, nearly instantaneous transactions? I would say most communities would value that. In my head, I'm just thinking, there's going to be probably 5 to 10% of people that just don't want to touch something that Richard Hart touches because they think he's a scammer. And that's fine. They're going to be wrong and they're going to miss out on another incredible opportunity like they missed out on Hex. But, this, again, PulseChain is Hex agnostic. It has nothing to really do with Hex. It was invented to solve a Hex problem, but it was also invented to solve a universal problem. So anybody can use it. If you're a Chainlink fanboy, if you're a moon boy for Chainlink or Polkadot, or whatever, I don't even know if that's an ERC20. If you're holding some ERC20s right now and you want to potentially double the quantity, check out PulseChain. And if your community wants to come over and start valuing the cheaper, faster chain, you might get somewhere between like a 1 and 2x on your US dollar value. Possibly, unless, the community just goes so far into PulseChain that it leaves the ETH chain coins worthless, which is to me unlikely, right? To me, that's unlikely. I mean, I'll tell you guys one thing for my strategy. I don't plan on really selling a lot of Hex. First of all, obviously, a lot of us are staked for 15 years. But I'm thinking about the ETH 2.0 date. I'm thinking about in 2 or 3 years' time when ETH fixes its shit, there's a good use case to go back and use Ethereum again and onboard people via Ethereum. So, I don't look at this like the ETH Hex is dying and the Pulse Hex is going to be the new one. I think there's going to be this weird middle ground where it's going to be a free-for-all for a while where the market tries to figure it out. And I've said this before, but I think we'd be lucky to see like a net US dollar gain of like a 1.2, maybe 1.3x, if we're lucky, or maybe 1.1, but still, it's free money raining down on your heads. And if you have any other coins, right? I'm holding a couple shit coins altcoins. I'm holding a couple altcoins that very small amounts of them, just to see how that's going to go too. So it'll be interesting. Barry Crump, PulseChain has to be better than Ethereum. Otherwise, what is the point? Let PulseChain be the 4th generation in crypto innovation. Yeah, I mean, Ethereum was kind of the 2nd gen, in my opinion. So wouldn't this be, I guess, if Hex is the 3rd gen and big innovation, then PulseChain is the 4th. Yeah. My analogy is Hex was like trying to be a better Bitcoin on Ethereum, and I think it is. I really believe that. And then Pulse is basically a better Ethereum. So for Hex and everything to live on. Franklin says, I have a theory about PulseChain is a low-key fork of Agrland, Solana, to make it easy to integrate with USDC. That's so interesting. I don't know anything about Algorand and Solana, but it will be weird to see the value of US dollar coin. So stable coins on PulseChain, right? How are they going to have any value if you basically just forked everyone's USDC, but they're not technically backed by JP Morgan or Coinbase or any of those big players, right? My first thought is, I'm always a little concerned, and here's me concern trolling right now about, if you mess with the dollar, maybe someone might come after you. But then again, it is likely that the owners of the US dollar coin and USDT contracts have like an off switch of some kind, so they can just say, hey, any PulseChain, any PulseChain stable coins can't be redeemable for dollars. They could just choose to say that. But what could happen in reality is that social consensus could keep up the value of these USDCs, USDTs of the world for some time. But I think what's more likely, what's been interesting me more about stable coins is I hope somebody invents a stable coin that's Pulse specific, but I really like the, algorithm and smart contract based stable coins like DAI. I was never a fan of DAI because, I just figured it was complicating things, and why not just use USDC? That's just very simple and just backed by, sovereign governments and stuff. But if we're going to PulseChain, it might not be so simple to just fork a national currency onto that chain. So this might be where the players like DAI start being more useful. If it, because the contracts are all going to continue to work. When something is forked, it's not like you need to do anything to port all the contracts over. The Uniswap contract will exist on Pulse right away. Different front ends will have to be made, or different. I think a lot of people are thinking like things have to be ported into PulseChain. You're not porting anything. Okay, there's no porting. There might be a bridge, right? You might have some kind of bridges for unique coins, but you're just going to get a one-for-one copy, and all the smart contracts are copied too. The entire system state is copied, so that's what that means. Now, to interact with the smart contracts on the new chain, you'll need a new block explorer. So you'll need like the Ether scan for Pulse. You'll need a Pulse scan, and I'm sure that's on the agenda. You can also fork that code and make changes. But Uniswap V2, for example, will be available on PulseChain, and all the ETH pairs. I believe all the ETH pairs are going to just turn into Pulse pairs, because I think that's the main switchover. When we go from ETH to Pulse, all the ETH is just going to be Pulse now. And it's, I believe, a ratio of 10,000 to 1 is what we're talking about, which means the supply for every 1 Ethereum, the new supply of Pulse on the new chain will be 10,000. So like if you have, 1 ETH right now, you might get 10,000 Pulse just for holding that ETH. Big Gunner D says, good afternoon, Coffee. How you doing, Big Gunner? Valley Brand. Yes, it really is. He does great work. Oh, I can't keep up. Yeah, chat's too fast. You think we should sacrifice any liquid hex for Pulse? Should we restake it? Thoughts? Yeah, good question. So let's back up a little bit. For those that don't know, there's going to be a sacrifice period of about 30 days before the fork. As I understand it, there will be maybe like a snapshot date of the fork where all of your coins will get forked over 1-to-1, but there will also be a 30-day period where you can sacrifice a series of tokens, not just Hex, but the token list is TBD, but it's probably going to be a list of tokens with the best communities. And you'll be able to basically send in tokens to some kind of smart contract or address that will then give you an arbitrary token X, right? Let's just call it token X. It's going to be an ERC20 token that you will then be able to convert for Pulse, or redeem for Pulse, is my current understanding. So, for example, I have, let's say, 10 Chainlink. I send 10 Chainlink to the sacrifice address, whatever that is. I receive token X, which is a new arbitrary, potentially worthless ERC20 token that's only used for conversion. So I receive token X, then upon the end of the launch phase, which I believe is 30 days, I redeem token X somehow for Pulse tokens. So the use of the word sacrifice is important too, because we're trying the word sacrifice, that looks like, instead of transform, to really, really drive home the point that you don't get these coins back. You are letting them go. There's nowhere. I mean, that's another thing too. There's still going to be some amount of plebs on Reddit or some shit that are going to be, where do the coins go? You're giving Richard Hart all your coins. It's like you're sacrificing your coins. You don't ask. Okay. Like if you ask where the coins go and somebody gives you an answer like, oh, they're going to be used for marketing. I think that would be a likely answer, but you can't say that, because you can't give the expectations of profit from the work of others, because it violates the Howey test, which is the main way that it's pretty cut and dry how the SEC deems securities. So, sorry, getting back to the question, should we restake it? I don't know if I want to actually sacrifice any of my Hex, but I think if you're going to sacrifice anything, it probably should be Hex if you want the price of Hex to go up. So one of the pumpamentals built into the sacrifice feature, which is amazing, right, is that it's a way to siphon off some of the economic energy and pump the price of all coins without any dump, right? So I think it's also reasonable to believe that the sacrifice address won't immediately be dumping Hex on the open market, right? So rather than people selling their Hex to buy Pulse, that would make the ETH Hex price go down and the Pulse Hex price go up. but why not just make both prices go up at the same time? So that's why I think the sacrifice method is truly genius, because if anybody wanted to essentially sell Hex for Pulse, well, now they can just give Hex to a sacrifice address that's not being sold. So you're buying more Hex to convert to Pulse, which is buying the price up. And the sacrifice address is not selling it, in my opinion, right? Obviously it could, but assuming Richard owns the sacrifice address, I don't think he would be the type of person to want the price of Hex to go down on either chain. It seems like a reasonable assumption. So the sacrificing makes it so that you have another option of how to get your Pulse coins without selling your ETH coins, your ERC20s. And for the sake of the video, let's call it EHEX and PHEX. Like EHEX is Hex on Ethereum and PHEX is Pulse on Hex. Hex on Pulse. So it's going to be confusing, right? There's going to be a one-to-one copy of the E version of everything and the P version of everything. Flame says day one. Oh, let me just try to answer this question. I keep going off topic. So, I think if you do want to sacrifice a coin and your favorite coin is Hex, I think you should sacrifice it. If you want a one-for-one copy and you don't want to lose any of your ERC 20 coin, then maybe just keep it, because you're going to get a one-to-one copy. And I'll probably do a combination of both. I'll probably do some sacrifice, but keep most of my staked Hex staked. Maybe sacrifice a little bit of liquid Hex, because really that'll pump the price of Hex too. It'll cause a buying frenzy, in my opinion, that all this Hex is going to get bought up just to be sacrificed. Well, what happens if all the Hex is getting bought up and sacrificed and not sold? Price goes up on ETH Hex. And then what happens on Pulse Hex launch day? I think everybody makes a mad rush to go buy Pulse Hex with their new Pulse token, right? Because you have this opportunity to basically rush into coins that you want on the new Uniswap, on the Pulse Uniswap. So it's going to be chaotic. It's going to be crazy. If you want to, let's just read some questions. I'll get into theories later. Exchange them all for Hex. Yeah, I mean, if you have any altcoins, it might be a good time. And that this is all speculation, but it might be a good time to convert a lot of your altcoins into Hex if Hex is your favorite token and you want the price to go up. Not right now, but maybe closer to the launch date. And hopefully we get some kind of a rough launch date on Friday. Hopefully it's not 4 to 6 weeks and we get some clarity, but it is hard. So I want to make sure that everyone's expectations are not, the firm deadlines don't really exist in software. I work for a company that makes software. Every time we give a deadline, they move. So deadlines move. So I don't know when we should be doing all this buying and exchanging and planning. But once we have a relative date, we can kind of plan around that, just in case you might have stakes expiring. You might have other coins that you wanted to sell before then. And I'm hoping that Pulse kind of happens as the next crypto pump is happening too, because it's just better all around. I mean, prices go up and that's amplified by the bull market, like the greater bull market. That'd be great. So I think if Hex launched in 4 months, during the summer, end of the summertime, I think that would be great timing in parallel with what I think is going to be the possibly final wave of the bull market. IdentityBlock. What up, Brandon Hexagons? How you doing? ETH. Let's do a mini comparison to the ETH Classic fork. Well, I don't know much about the ETH Classic fork other than that it's a fork. One thing that I will tell all you guys, for any of the newbies out there, you're not going to need a new MetaMask, guys. When you fork EVM compatible things, you just switch the network in your MetaMask settings. So when you pull your MetaMask down from your browser, or on your MetaMask app, if you're using the app, you can change the setting from Ethereum mainnet to anything else. So there's a bunch of test networks, but you can also switch to Matic mainnet. You can also switch to Ethereum Classic mainnet. And if you had Ethereum in 14, 15, if you're one of those guys, you probably still have some ETC. You probably have some Ethereum Classic. Now, back in that day, I didn't buy Ethereum at all. I'm kicking myself. I wish I did. Of course, I wish I did. But when you get a fork, you just get a one-to-one copy of every coin that was on that fork. So if you held ETH in 2014, 2015, whenever the fork was, maybe 2016, chances are you have a one-to-one amount of ETC, which isn't probably worth that much, but it's a little fun fact. Joe Hexotic, I am going in so large on Pulse and so fast that I may have to be known as Apes Only One from now on. Yeah, I think a lot of people are going to FOMO into Pulse. The question is how to acquire the most Pulse, right? So there's some fundamentals built into this potential launch phase, right? Where every day of the launch period, it's going to become more expensive to sacrifice Hex, to sacrifice altcoins for Hex. And also for every increment of USD value. So let's say for every $1 million that's put in, it will also become more expensive. So it'll look like a curve, let's do this the other way. It'll look like the graph of the square root of X, kind of. Trevor says, hey, Coffee, how you doing? What's up, Trevor? Let me see. I'm getting all mixed up here. Often a stock split moves after a stock split, the value moves to the earlier pre-split price. Maybe this will happen with Pulse Hex and regular Hex. Yeah, I think it will trend towards the combined value of the price before the split. But I think you also have this speculation value in crypto that you don't necessarily always have. I mean, everything is speculation, right? But you have a lot more speculation in crypto. So that's why I think it might be worth a little bit more, in the end, than the combination than just the price of regular Hex. All right. Hex Alt Ed. Thanks for got in catching up. Thank you, Coffee. Thank you, Hex Alt Ed. Franklin Saint Hex said Circle makes USDC, not Coinbase. Circle has implementations of USDC on both the Algorand and Solana. So I'm guessing, since that USDC state is copied over, I'm guessing USDC will be forced to support it. Interesting. I mean, I'm wondering if they would even really be aware of it. There's so much going on in crypto that to them it might just be like they're not even thinking about PulseChain. So I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I know Circle is owned by Goldman Sachs, though, and there's a lot of connections to Coinbase and JP Morgan. So it's kind of just like corporate coin to me. But I don't know anything about Algorand and Solana. So maybe you can educate me, because that's not my realm of expertise. I'm guessing that since UST state is copied over. Yeah, I mean, it probably will exist. It probably will just chill there for a while. The question is, are people going to value it at $1 still? I mean, if USDC is just sitting on a new chain, but it's not the same, like it just forked USDC, will it have value? Will it not? That's a very important question that I don't think anybody can know for sure. How would Pulse work with USDT and other stablecoins? Well, you would still have the pairs, right? So you would have a Hex USDC pair on Pulse, but it's going to be so weird. Like that's a big area of uncertainty. Like maybe you can buy up a whole bunch of cheap Hex with the USDC on the new Pulse chain, if people don't think that USDC is valuable on that chain. Or no, if people think it is valuable. Joe Hexotic says, I know that I believe ETH Hex will be the absolute gold standard of crypto. Hex Pulse is like a Toyota to a Lexus. Toyota makes Lexus, no doubt about that. I'd even rather drive a Toyota. Most reliable, most durable, most beloved. Hex is Toyota. Hex is making Lexus. Luxury branding. That's an interesting take. That's a hot, spicy take from Joe Hexotic right there. The luxury of cheap, instantaneous fee burning. Here's another cool thing I just learned about PulseChain. 0% inflation, guys. 0% inflation. That is pretty wild, right? Like it's fee burning. So it actually would, my guess would be it's actually deflationary, right? Because every transaction burns a tiny, tiny little bit of fees. So, you get the whole inflation bad people, they got nothing to say anymore, because it's like, well, it's actually deflationary. Like you're starting off with maybe a trillion Pulse, 1.1 trillion Pulse, but that number can only go down. So 0% inflation is very interesting. So we're going to have Hex with 3.69% inflation. we're going to have Pulse with 0% inflation, and we'll see what works, right? I mean, supply and demand, if the supply is going down over time, that's a fundamental for marketing, if nothing else, right? All right. Barry Crump says, yes, good accounting does incur gas fees. Yes, it does, unfortunately. Give me Hex or give me coffee. Or give me Peter Danis. Lazar Hex here. Hi. Whales only. What's up, bro? How you doing, man? David Morales said, what's the ratio of token X to the sacrifice token? I don't think that is knowable right now. I may be 1-to-1. Maybe 1-to-1, but I know the ratio of Pulse to ETH is likely 10,000 to 1. I don't think that anybody knows for sure. IdentityBlock says, I think we should say priced at $0 over saying worthless. Good point. Good point. Let's say 0. It starts at $0. That's the goal. The goal is to have Pulse start at as low of a value as possible so that I can only go up, right? I mean, that's what you kind of had with Hex too. Hex, the higher something is and the higher something dumps at the beginning, like the post IPO pops that happen, it turns a lot of people off. So the closest you can start to 0, I think, is usually good. Yeah, sad world when we can't use the term buy or exchange. Yeah, it is. It's just legalese, I think. Sweet nasty. So why would we want to dilute Hex? You're not dilute. Well, you have 2 copies now, and so the sum of the parts is probably going to be greater than the whole, and that's basically the mentality behind it. You're going to have 2 hexes. One's going to have the problem solved. Why would you want to dilute it? To me, it's not like that's not a bad thing. It's like this is for people to onboard, right? Like it's more important to onboard people with cheap, like almost free transactions than it is to just stay on a chain that's, $80 a transaction. So, I mean, you can get way more people in if it actually works, right? If the tech actually works. So I think you're doubling the quantity. I think both are going to have value. So I don't think the dilution is going to cause the price overall to drop. But really, it's for onboarding. At the end of the day, guys, it's for, in my opinion, it's to get people in. Because why would we want anybody to pay $70 to get into Hex? It's hard. It's a hard sell. EE Hex and PP Hex. Niles Thorne says, I am confused, sacrificing my Hex with Pulse, but pretty sure this Pulse chain is going to be great. I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be the airdrop of a lifetime. I think if, ETH ends up figuring their shit out, then the market can just go back to the ETH chain. But, it's a temporary, maybe permanent solution is my opinion. Crypto Coffee, I watched your video. You said Hex was mooning very soon, but when I bought Hex, the price was only falling. What the hell has happened? Why is everybody selling? Why did you say this? Because at the time I said it was mooning, it went up 25, 30%. Dude, I don't have a crystal ball, and neither do you. Like, cryptocurrency is very volatile. The price you pay for volatility is huge potential for outsized rewards. So, why did I buy and price go down? Like, is this your first time getting into crypto? I mean, I tell everybody, the prices in crypto are extremely volatile. So usually buying the dip is a good idea. Franklin St. Hex says there's game theory advantages for staking less on the old chain. There's game theory advantages for staking less on the old chain. For less staking on the old chain. You mean like less activity on the old chain? Yeah, so this is another cool thing too, is like if you sacrifice Hex for Pulse, like you're going to have less liquid Hex, right? So it's going to be a pumpamental on both chains, in my opinion. GD says, I'm not understanding anything. I'm more confused than ever with Pulse. Yeah, I'm very confused as well about certain things, GD. We're going to find out more on Friday. I'm just, I don't have all the answers, okay? If you're watching me for financial advice, you're in the wrong place. Wales only says deadlines are a moving target. Yes, they are. Niles Thorne says, either way, Pulse and Hex goes up. I believe it will. Might not, I don't have a crystal ball. Crypto Kobe says 75 people, 30 likes, smash the likes. Thank you. Thank you. Piston Broke says, sup, whales. Man, I am not caught up at all. Quick question. Are all alts rated at different values? 1 ETH 10,000 to 1, 88 10,000 to 1. I don't think so. I don't know. Big Gunner D. I don't know. I believe it's going to be like the ETH that you hold is going to be, you're going to get Pulse at 10,000 to 1. And the X that you buy, or sorry, the X that you sacrifice for, I don't know that ratio. So I don't know that ratio. But if you're talking about, like, let's say I hold ADA, no, it's going to be 1 to 1. So the only thing that's 10,000 to 1, in my opinion, if you're just holding, is going to be the ETH to Pulse, in my opinion. So like ADA, like if I had 10 or 1,000 ADA, I would just have 1,000 ADA on Pulse, right? Is it safe to say Celsius, Voyager, Nexo, third-party wallets will not get the new Pulse copy? Well, if your wallet can connect to a different network, then yeah. But Metamask is my favorite wallet. It's the one that I use for everything. I think it's safe to say that if you want, your coins on Pulse, it might be a good idea to get them into a MetaMask wallet, because I don't really know anything about Voyager, Nexo, Celsius. They might not support it, right? Like, because technically that's a non-custodial wallet. Celsius, I know Celsius, and it's non-custodial, which means they hold your private keys for you. Or sorry, it is custodial rather. So they hold your private keys for you. So you don't really have control over it. So, whenever this PulseChain thing happens, it's you're probably going to want to have your coins in your own personal wallet. Like the free Hex claim, probably. I don't know. Central exchanges won't get any either. Cool. Yeah, that's something I heard in the chat room. Like big whales like Vitalik, Buterin, and big exchanges like Binance, they won't get to claim their Pulse because they would just probably dump the price down. And whales early on, whales with no skin in the game are a risk to the price, right? They're a threat. So Ultraism said, learn how to get Pulse. Here to learn how to get Pulse. Dude, I am sorry to break it to you, but nobody knows how to get Pulse yet. It's really just early talks. Okay. So like, I'm not the guy that like has all the answers. Friday, like Decentralized says, Friday is going to be great. Richard Hart's going to release a lot of information, we think. And, it's still in the development stages, right? Things are still being planned out. So again, really want to stress that I don't have all the answers about Pulse. I'm speculating like you. I am pulsing right now. That's weird. Gross. Good point. Peter says, take ownership of the USDC wallets, right? Whales only says 25% is the latest figure. Straight deflationary. Archie says Pulse is going to be massive. That's cool. Franklin St. Hex says haters forced to love it. Lazar Hex says not if the gas fees are still high. Joe Hexotic, whichever pays more after the gas fees will be the gold standard. Chris Huber says, I'm a little confused on the 10,000 to 1 thing. I believe it just means like you're getting a 10,000 Pulse for every 1 Ethereum you own. And the reason for that is probably for unit bias, right? To make, if they were the same value, that would put Pulse at like 26 cents rather than two. Like, you don't want to just fork something and have it be $2,000 or even $100. It'd be too high for the gas fees. Abraham Espinoza says, how long does it take to make something like PulseChain? My guess is as good as yours, bro. But I think like probably 6 months from here, like maybe before the end of the year, hopefully. The Dirty Cat says, do you automatically get given Pulse just by holding ETH in your wallet? Yeah. Yes. I mean, that'll be part of it. That's going to be part of how you get Pulse. So the other part would be the sacrificing. Why do you need a new coin for a new chain? It's for fees. I think you need a new coin for fees, right? Like you need to pay fees on a network to prevent things like spam and to basically make a blockchain that works well. You need some kind of a fee system, right? I think so. J everything. Salute hexagons. 0.0000 Pulse can make us one day FOMOers very, very happy. Yeah, I mean, I hope there's no big dump after the launch, but also get ready for that, right? because you're going to have a whole bunch of people with newly minted Pulse. They might just try to dump it right away, right? So there might just be a dump for a couple weeks or so after Pulse comes out. I don't know. TC serious question: if you had your own blockchain, would gas be known as coffees? I get it. I think it would. I think you would have to. This is going to be a great thing for Hex and crypto as a whole. Yeah, it's cool for crypto as a whole because you can opt into it. If your particular project, like if your contract is getting screwed with gas fees, you can come on over to Pulse. I mean, it's Hex agnostic. Like you can just come use it. You can have all your smart contracts right there for minimal work. Like you might just have to update a few front ends. You can use all of your same stuff. It's gonna be great. And if your community values the Pulse version of your coin more than the ETH version, then and if both have a value, you might end up getting a net positive out of it, like a greater than 1%, 100%. Dirty Cat says, I recognize your name from stock twits, but yes, ETH holders are expected to get some Pulse airdrops, but nothing compared to the amount you'll receive by sacrificing. Yeah, JY is right. The 10,001 airdrop, or I guess just, I don't even know if it's technically an airdrop, but when let's say I hold 1 ETH in my MetaMask wallet and I get 10,000 Pulse automatically in my other network, that'll be like the freemium onboarding. So 10,000 Pulse isn't going to be that much Pulse because the units are going to start off so low. So you're going to be able to buy more, kind of like you were able to get more in the adoption amplifier, but you'll be able to get more in the earlier launch phase probably for PulseChain by sacrificing. So you could get Pulse 2 main ways: just either hold ETH at the time of the fork or sacrifice some coins for Pulse token. Coffee, you say you're fully staked in Hex and do nothing. You say you are fully staked in Hex and you do nothing. What is the disadvantage or advantage? Actually, I think I said I'm going to hold a little bit liquid to maybe convert some. Again, I don't know. It's too early to say. But let's say I am fully staked in Hex and I do nothing, then the advantage to me would be you're not sacrificing anything. So you can choose to basically believe in both Ethereum and Pulse. Like you would just like, I think if you really, really think that Pulse is going to win, like in that everyone's only going to be on PulseChain, you might want to convert liquid Hex into and then buy some Pulse Hex, right? But if you just do nothing, the advantage is that you don't really have to make a decision. So like for me, I'm probably going to do nothing with the majority of my stack because I have no idea what the market's going to end up valuing more in the long run, right? And because again, we're staked in Hex for 15 years and more. So, we're thinking about things even on a 1-year time horizon is kind of short term to me. It's like, if you're not holding this coin for longer than 1 year, you can't really complain about the day-to-day movements or anything like that. So, I'd say doing nothing buys you the ability to be uncertain, essentially. It's like, if I don't know if Hex is going to be the dominant coin on ETH or Pulse. So I think the advantage is you get to be uncertain and you're basically not placing a bet on either chain. Now I have equal on both chains and we'll see what happens and get your popcorn, sit back and chill. That's probably going to be mine. Talik Elmo says, what I don't get is people talking about selling Hex for Pulse. I would assume this is not meant to happen. Yeah, see, that's the whole point of the sacrifice, right? That's the beauty of it. It's like you don't have to sell Hex for Pulse. You can sacrifice it and then hope that the person you sacrifice to doesn't dump it, which, if that happens to be Richard, I don't think he would. Will we get Pulse for staked Hex? No. You'll get staked Hex on Pulse for staked Hex on ETH. You won't get Pulse for staked Hex. You'll just get, if your Hex is staked on ETH, you'll get the same amount of staked Hex on Pulse. It's pretty that simple. I remember my first beer, Hector the Protector. Who are you talking to? Let's see. They're selling because liquid Hex holders watching. There are Pulse buying power. They are selling liquid Hex holders watching their Pulse buying power lose dollar value. I don't know. I'm having a hard time understanding that. Buy and stake Hex, simple. Yep, that's pretty much my motto. Just keep buying and staking. So Richard said he'd release more details on Friday. Yes, he did. He will have a live stream, I believe, on Friday. He said end of the month, which is Friday. So coffee, will Pulse be better than Ethereum? I believe it will. I don't know for sure. I believe it will be cheaper and faster. So to me, that's better. Gunner D. RH mentioned in the Pulse chat that it would be, I can't follow this combo. Richard is opening Pandora's box. Any billionaire can start forking ETH and the entire ecosystem every week and flooding the market. We are losing scare. Yeah, I mean, that's like is that really going to happen? Like, we'll see. But I don't think that it's going to happen like that. I don't think everyone's just going to start forking ETH. I think this is a legitimate fork that a lot of work is being put into to solve a real problem, right? To basically make Hex usable and make all of ETH usable again. But I can see your point of view. Like, I can see your point of view that like everybody could do this, but that's the kind of same logic of like, well, everyone can make their own altcoin, so we're losing the scarcity, right? It's like, just because anyone can make their own altcoin doesn't mean they're all going to have value. Just because anybody can fork ETH at any time doesn't mean the market's going to, value any of these forks. I think it's going to value Pulse because there's a lot of work and thought being put into it. But who knows? Maybe the market doesn't like Pulse, and maybe they continue to use ETH. DirtyCat says, I think he said they're going to be live on YouTube on Friday, so they'll give out a lot of details. Yeah, I think I jumped the gun. I'm a little early on this, and I'm not like involved in the development of this, so I really can't say a lot of things. ETH to Pulse is still only a 1-to-1. Is it? Okay, thanks for correcting me on that. Maybe it's not 10,000 to 1. Don't know yet. Lightsout says, people who hate CZ for copying and pasting ETH dApps and going to have pure hatred for Pulse, I feel, if the whole system state is forked. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty positive that there's going to be haters on anybody trying to do anything. People hate CZ, but look what BNB did. Look what BSC did. I mean, the price went way up, made a lot of people rich. So there will be haters. Get ready for that. That's nothing new. You should just be using MetaMask TBH. I agree. Try to get your coins out of exchanges. I always recommend that. Isn't Trust Wallet like MetaMask? I don't know. Never used Trust Wallet. If it's non-custodial, then sure. Yeah, it is. It's hard for normal hexagons to have one ETH, especially with high fees. So no X coin for us. No. You don't have to have like one minimum. If you have less than one ETH, it's like, it's still going to be a conversion. Like, you're still going to get your ETH. I didn't mean to say that the minimum is one. However many, if you have 0.0001 ETH, you'll get some amount of Pulse credited. Will ETH providing liquidity on Uniswap get Pulse? Yes, I believe. See, that was my big question too. I think that all of the ETH pairs are going to become Pulse pairs. So if you provided liquidity on like a Hex ETH pair, I think you might get the same amount of Hex, but also like a Pulse conversion. So don't know. Oak Tree, is it reasonable to expect a recovery of Hex price to 2 cents to 2 pennies? How low is it possible for price to fall? Well, it's possible for the price of anything to fall to zero in any crypto ever. I know there's resistance at 0.013. Doesn't mean it can't go below there. If you bought at the very top 2 pennies, and this is your first time getting in, I would say just stake it for a year, man. Like, never invest more than you're willing to lose. Always diversify. But Hex is a long-term staking coin. So if you can stake for 2 or 3 years and you're making 20, 30% APY, you don't have to worry about the day-to-day volatility so much. And you can just kind of sit back. And that way, even if after a year the Hex price goes down 30%, you just made interest to make that 30% back up. But, prices fluctuate crazily all the time. So the whole market went down lately. So, it's like if you bought any coin in the, 2 or 3 weeks ago, a lot of it went down. Kinetics, great job with and also I'm sorry for like your short-term loss, but you got to understand that this is a very long-term coin for us. Like, everybody in here is kind of a long-term holder, right? So, if we buy a coin and it goes down, like we've sat through 70% dips, 80% dips before. I held and I watched my Hex go down 80%, 4 times. So it happened a lot, but every time it came back higher. So just a heads up, Hex isn't some coin that only goes up. That's impossible, but I think it will go up in the long term. Kinetics did a great job with the channel coffee, almost 3,000 subs. People subscribe if you haven't already. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Kinetics. Kinetics says dumping is not an issue. Don't we want cheap gas in the largest room to the upside? I don't know. I don't know what that means. Motley said that's not right. The total Pulse supply to ETH will be 10,000 to 1, but ETH to Pulse. Okay. All right. So this right here is what's up. So the total supply of ETH will be 10,000 to 1, but the ETH to Pulse ratio is only a 1 to 1. And that's the freemium, right? So you're getting 1 ETH per Pulse, and that's just, barely enough to pay for transaction fees and all, but it's not going to, be any life-changing money probably. So thanks for correcting me on that, Molly. The total supply will probably be 10,000x just to help with the unit bias, but the actual ratio is, I guess, 1 to 1. So he said it's just like every other ERC20 token. I see. So retract my previous statement. Again, guys, it's so early that I just don't know a lot of stuff. All right. Like the video, 96 watching, 53 likes. Ethereum, Ether, ETH, Gas, Way, Gwei, ERC, all confusing. It is so confusing, man. I agree with you. I couldn't agree more. This is one of the most confusing markets around. Hold on, let me just check on something real quick. Oh, I do have to head out pretty soon, guys, but let me just try to make it down to the bottom. Wouldn't that make Pulse token automatically worth more than Pulse Hex? I don't think so. Because there's just because you're copying it doesn't mean it has to have the same value as Ethereum or any, not even a 10,000 to 1 value. It's the open market that decides, right? So you could say there's 10,000, I'm just multiplying the supply of Ethereum by 10,000x, but it doesn't mean that 1 Pulse is going to be worth 1/10,000th of an ETH, right? It's whatever the market decides. All right, guys, I got to try to finish this up. We are still early and in 2023, and we'll have 2 years of data to go off of, and I'm sure we'll see some progress. That's right, Corey. It's going to be great. We are going to be here for a long, long time. The people holding liquid Hex that would sacrifice it are selling it because there is no benefit of using Hex over USDC. I don't know about that. I don't know about that, Hex Famous. It's been on a downward trend for 2 weeks. It dipped with the rest of the market. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's true. Sarah Lyons, thanks for all you do. Of course, man. No problem. You misunderstood the 10,000x, quoting RH directly. For instance, at the top of my head, I think X holders would get free Pulse at 10,000 to 1 compared to what ETH holders will get. Okay, I see. So yeah, the sacrifice coin is going to get you that 10,000 to 1 ratio. Every other coin, including ETH would just get a 1 to 1 of Pulse. That's what Molly said too. So I stand corrected. Corey says, hey, Coffee, what's up, man? How we doing up in here? We're doing all right, Corey. Doing all right. Busy day. Just wanted to get online and try to answer some questions if I could. But, clearly it's way early, and I'm not sure. We are still early in 2023 and have 2 years of data to go on. If I stake Hex a week before Pulse arrives, will I get the airdrop? Yeah. It's a 1-to-1, right? So if you have staked Hex on ETH, you'll have staked Hex on Pulse. You can stake whenever you want. I think it's smart to stake if you want the interest. It's 1-to-1. Franklin saying Hex in 2007, there was an ETH killer born every day. Where are they now? Adoption is relevant. Yeah, it's all about the adoption of your chain, right? There's so many wannabe ETH killers. We'll see if any of them have value. Trust Wallet is just as good as MetaMask, probably better. Interesting. Okay, I've never used it before, but maybe that'll work too. Let's see. Also, liquidity providers that have ERC20s and stablecoins locked in Compound, they get ported to Hex automatically. That's probably a good incentive for them to adopt. I would think so. I would think if you all of a sudden have a lot of coins on this new chain, and the new chain is fast and instantaneous and cheap, Like, it'd be pretty tempting to just hop over there, especially if it's almost exactly the same as Ethereum. Can you explain what this is all about? Sacrifice seems to be the main topic. Yeah, it's just basically like sacrificing a coin for token X. Token X is an arbitrary ERC20 that is likely to be able to convert into, the Pulse tokens at a rate of 10,000 to 1. Again, TBD. Let's wait 2 days and figure it out. All right, guys, I got to head out. I got 2 minutes left. What's the sacrifice mechanism burning? This is a really good question. I didn't know if sacrificing meant burning. I was hoping it meant burning, but I don't think it will be, which means we might have some more fun about where do the coins go. So I guess I am a little, I'm anticipating some haters, some where do the coins go people. No bonkers. Pulse will be gas. All right, guys, I got to head out. Got a meeting to run to. It's been great chatting with you guys. Hopefully I answered some questions. Hopefully I didn't make things too confusing. And again, it's very, very early. We'll find out more in 2 days. Talk to you all in the next one. Later, guys.